Everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery and Local Fury, and today we're going to go through some updates for Local Fury, share you guys some of the updates that we've added over the last several months, some of the results that we're getting from it, and then just answer some questions that you guys have. And that's basically it. So like I said, this isn't going to be a hard pitch webinar or anything like that. We're just going to talk through the updates and what we've been working on, show you guys some examples, and answer any questions you have. And that's basically it. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. This isn't going to be where if all this did was, would it be worth it? We're not doing all that shit. It's just going to be, here's the details. This is what we've been working on. These are the type of results that we're seeing with much more consistency now. So that's it. With that said, I'm going to grab the screen and we're going to jump. What's up, Nigel? I see some of you familiar names and faces and all that. Appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to grab the screen. Adam, did you want to say anything before I do that?
No, I was just getting ready to let you know, make sure we can see the screen.
Okay, yeah. Give me 1 second. Expand this a little bit more. Okay. You got my whole desktop, right?
Yep, good to go.
Okay. So like I said, guys, we're going to go through just the presentations briefly, and we'll probably switch over to the desktop browser or the browser in a few minutes too, to show you guys some of these supporting assets that we're building. So give me 1 minute. So anyway, just so you guys know, Local Fury, it's a combination of CTR manipulation signals, mostly in maps, about 80% in maps and 20% in kind of Google search, although we've incorporated some desktop signals as well as mobile. So we're doing some more, a little bit more in the Google side of things besides just maps now as well. But in addition to kind of engaging with the maps profile and being able to post questions and things like that, we have done in the past, now we've started incorporating some additional off-page signals, which in my opinion are kind of it's a way to push geo-relevance into the projects or the campaigns from an off-page standpoint, because we don't have access to the Google business profiles as far as for optimizing and doing on-page changes and things like that. That's not what this service is for. We do provide audits, which again, we'll talk about that in a moment. But the reason why when people join Local Fury, we have an onboarding fee or set up an onboarding fee, and that basically covers really the cost of the audits, because the audits are really important so that we can make sure that the project that we're going to send signals to will respond well to those. And what we found is through this audit process is a lot of the times projects or Google business profiles and the associated websites aren't really in a state where they're going to respond well to signals that we send. And so we incorporated audits specifically so that we can provide recommendations and guidance on how to improve the optimization of the project first, so that it would respond better to the signals that we send. So in addition to kind of like the on-page signals that, the signals that we had been sending to the existing projects, what we found is that even though we provide the audits with full recommendations, sometimes we get people that have come back and say, well, I'm not seeing any results even after the audit. And we go back and kind of re-audit and find out that 60–80% of the recommendations we made have not been executed. So therefore, is it Local Fury that's not working, or is it you that's not working? And I'm just saying the proverbial you, none of you specifically on the call. And so part of the reason that we started to develop the signals and kind of the off-page things that we're doing here to push geo-relevance into the project is so that we can help a project when the on-page factors are not being executed the way that we have recommended. So it's kind of a way to help our service to provide better and produce better results when, now obviously if our clients, if you guys end up executing the audit, the tasks that we recommend in the audits, then it should respond incredibly well, especially when combined with the off-page geo-relevant signals that we're building now. So just to be clear, but for those of you that are too lazy, and I'm not picking on any of you here, just those of you that for whatever reason don't want to execute the optimization recommendations that we provide within the audits, this will help to get better results. Although, like I said, just full transparency, full disclosure, we provide those audits specifically so that the projects will respond better to the signals, and because it's just good practice. So again, I can't tell you how many times I've provided audits to people and gone back and checked on them later and found out that very few, if any, of the items have been executed. And then, who do you have to blame at that point? If you're not doing what's been recommended, then really there's no one else to point the fingers at other than yourself. And that's all I have to say about that. But again, I'm not here to pick on anybody or anything else. I'm just saying, like, we go through that process specifically. It's a very thorough audit process because we know what works, right? And through managing all these different profiles and across different industries, and in some cases, different countries, we've kind of figured out what works consistently. Of course, every single project is going to have its own unique circumstances. So there's always anomalies. There's always, special circumstances. But for the vast majority, remember, we need to 80-20 everything. We need to do the biggest things that produce, the 20% of the work that produces 80% of the results. And that's what we do consistently. There are always going to be projects or campaigns, locations, et cetera, that are going to require more than what we can do on just kind of like our process standpoint. And that's where, again, the audits come in, because so much of that can be resolved if you just execute the audits appropriately. Okay. But with that said, guys, I wanted to just talk about, again, this will be kind of a short presentation just to explain what it is that we've done in the last several months. So here's what we're going to cover: background, the big updates, the results, and then an offer at the end here. Okay. And again, I'm not going to do some big crazy build up or any of that. Here's why we're doing this webinar now. We've had big updates and wanted to let you know about them in one place at one time to make it easy. Instead of trying to drip these out over the last several months, we just decided to wait and kind of release all this one at once, especially once we had some more consistent results. We've been kind of refining these for months. So that's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to show you guys some real examples too. We've been hard at work for the past year, and we've really been adding fuel to the fire in the past quarter to take results up to the next level. That's where the geostacks have come in. That's what we're calling them. You guys will see a preview of that today as well. So here's some of the new things that we're doing. We're doing driving direction URLs. So we're not just simulating driving signals like we had in the past. Now what we're also doing is when we request driving directions, now we're taking those share URLs from the driving directions, and then we're embedding them in the cloud pages, which is part of the geostacks, which is new. And then we start sending signals to those geo pages and cloud stacks, if that makes, or cloud pages and geostacks, excuse me. So it's kind of a combination of doing some off-page signal work, like an off-page building geo-relevance assets that will push geo-relevance into the project, but then also sending signals to those. So we're not just sending signals directly to the Google Business Profile and or the website now. Now we're sending signals in through the geostacks, which are now part of this new process, which is what has been really producing consistent results for us. So apart from the mobile signals, or excuse me, the geostacks, cloud pages, and gstacks, so traditional Google stacks, but also cloud pages, and in kind of the way that we configure them and build them out, you'll see what I'm talking about here in a few moments. And then through the geostacks that we build, we are pushing, building both geo-relevance and topical relevance. And once again, you'll see this in just a moment. So this will make sense and you'll see why this is powerful. You guys are all familiar, you should be all familiar with cloud stacks. So we're taking cloud stacks and we're using Yaks to produce these pages, at least currently. We might have our own kind of solution at a later point, but right now we're using those to build these cloud pages in a very specific way to push geo-relevance, okay? And interlinking them and actually creating like link wheels from them. Again, I'm going to show you an example of this in just a moment. So apart from the mobile signals that we had been sending to the customer properties, so to the Google Business Profiles, the self-hosted websites, et cetera, that was our normal local Fury, or what we have been doing. But now we're also sending mobile and desktop traffic through the geostacks as well. And desktop traffic is fairly new. That's something that we started working in within the past few months. All signals and traffic, both mobile and desktop, are coming from real Google profiles. And that has been one of the biggest hurdles we've had to overcome. And it's an ongoing issue, but keeping Google profiles live and current and free from suspension is difficult. So but all of these have been built up, our profiles, so that they mimic real behavior through real normal waking hours, et cetera. So we've done really well with that. It's a constant struggle, but we're constantly, trying to keep up with everything there. So the big updates are the geostacks, the cloud pages. I kind of wrap those all up together in my own mind. Cloud geostacks and cloud pages are all kind of wrapped up together. AI indexing included. So we're doing indexing for the geostacks, the cloud pages and geostacks. as well. And then we're sending traffic signals through the GBP or directly to the GBP and then through the geostacks and the cloud pages. Okay, so there's some kind of like tiered signals going on here, if that makes sense, right? So it says just 3 bullet points, it's 4. So my math was off, but a huge number of updates that allow you to get better results for your Google business profile in small, medium, and large towns and cities without paying tens of thousands of dollars for hardware development, upkeep, verified Gmails, and so much more. Remember, guys, the whole reason why we launched this service was because we've noticed that, I've been a member of so many different CTR manipulation groups. So for people that sell CTR manipulation, so click-through rate manipulation apps or tools or whatever. And we constantly see people doing it wrong or overdoing it. And if you're sending unnatural signals, Google will either ignore them entirely so that when you do get real natural organic signals, Google will ignore them because it's already flagged your property as manufacturing or manipulating signals. Does that make sense? So if you overdo it, if you're too aggressive, or if you do it in an unnatural way, you can actually cause damage, harm to the location. And so we've seen that over and over and over again over the last several years. I have, for sure. And also by just being a member of a lot of the different groups that I've been in, CTR groups, the same questions always come up, like, what kind of search and click volume should I go for? And everybody always targets keywords up front. And, as we've talked about, a lot of you are probably familiar with this. The more natural way to do things is to build brand signals first, kind of build some authority to the local entity first, and then you start pulling in keywords and pushing on those as well. Something else I want to chat about briefly is in previous versions of Local Fury, we had asked for people to submit their keywords, product or service keywords, plus the same product or service keywords with location modifiers, so city names. And then we would also work in near me and similar terms, nearby, in my area, around me, etc. We've kind of changed that slightly to where now we only want you submitting your top level product or service keywords. That's it. No location modifiers. We will handle that. And the reason why I say that is because we've seen a lot of people that have submitted Google business profiles, and the keywords that they want us to push on are for the keyword product or service keyword plus city modifier, where the Google business profile might be 20 miles away from the city. So these are like people that want to rank in the city, but their Google business profile is physically located in a suburb outside of the city, considerably outside of the city. And then, of course, it's our fault when they don't get results. No, that's unrealistic expectations. The way the Google business profiles work now is the proximity, the maps coverage area has been narrowed. But it's all relative because that's across the board. It's been narrowed. So it's not just your project and your properties that have been narrowed. It's all of the competitors as well. So the thing is, it's all relative. If everybody's Google business maps area has shrunk, it's been narrowed, the proximity has been narrowed by Google, then it's all relative, meaning you can still get results. Of course, you won't get leads from maybe 20 miles away like we used to be able to do three years ago, but you can still get a lot of leads from your own local area. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because a lot of the times when we've seen this a lot over the last years where people will submit a Google business profile that might be 20 miles or 25 or 30 miles. I've seen it even 30 some miles away, no kidding. And then they submit the location keyword plus location modifier for the big city, where the Google profile will never, the maps will likely never, no matter how much you throw at it, rank over there. And if it does, it's fleeting, meaning because Google's always going to try to push that out of the 3-pack to show businesses that are physically located in that city first, if that makes sense. So we've changed our process slightly to where now we just accept the product or service keywords only. And then we go through the analysis process and determine what are the appropriate location modifiers to add, which includes near me and variants of near me, if that makes sense. So it make it a little bit easier on you guys to just submit the primary product and service keywords, and then we will take it from there. So that's part of the reason why we've gone through this process, guys, was to help eliminate the need for you guys to try to figure out the perfect recipe, because in my opinion, there is no perfect recipe. You have to look at every project on a case-by-case basis. There are certain rules of thumb or guidelines that you can follow, but everything should be done kind of specific to a project. So preventing you guys from overdoing it or from trying to figure out the recipe for each and every one of them. And also because I know as an agency owner myself, guys, we all do too much in our own businesses. We have too many things that we're responsible for. So if you can find some decent services that can help reduce your workload, but still provide a result, then in my opinion, you're much better off going that route so that you can focus on higher level activities and the things that actually earn and generate revenue for your business, not going in and fiddling around with CTR manipulation recipes and formulas, et cetera. So that's part of the reason. Okay. So now, guys, I'm going to just go through these kind of briefly, show you guys some of the results from what, and then I'll show you the geostacks in just a minute. We're going to look at a couple of these. This is for one of our mastermind members. I hope it's all right to say your name, Cecilia, but she was beta testing with us for several of these projects, and I did get permission to be able to show the geostacks or the cloud pages for this one. Thank you, Cecilia. I see your comment for this one location. So I'm going to show that to you, but here's an example where you can see, again, keyword without location modifier, janitorial service. This was on the 26th of June. You can see it was at 4.1. So this is relatively new, guys. This is less than a month. And if we take a look at then on the 5th of July, it was at 3.9. So it went from a 4.1 to a 3.9. And then on the 17th of July, it was just run an hour ago, maybe. It's now at a 3. So you can see some pretty good movement there over the course of under a month. And again, a lot of that has to do with the kind of updated progress or process that we've developed for this, including the cloud pages and geostacks, et cetera. Okay, so that was one of them. Here's I didn't prepare these GIF images, so I think they're moving a little bit too fast. In my opinion, I would have slowed it down quite a bit so that you could have seen the grid a little bit more before it changed. But anyway, here we are. And also, to be clear, typically, guys, I don't like to change the size or position of a grid unless I note why it was changed. Again, I did not prepare these GIF images. I was supposed to be on vacation last week. I wish I would have been at work instead. Trust me. It's another time I might explain why. But typically when I do make a GeoGrid change, a report, a modify a local search grid report for a client, I explain why. Just so you guys know, that's not because we're trying to manipulate data. I've been accused of that in the past, but that's not the case. What typically, especially for things like this, when we start with a grid with whatever the default settings are, and we start to get green across most of that grid area, then that's when we modify the report settings to show more data on a more granular level. So just for example, like, again, this is not specifically with Local Fury, but this is how I do things with like my link building business and my clients, et cetera. Usually in month 1, our default settings are set by the 7x7 grid with 2-mile spacing. That's because most of my clients are service area businesses. And that's kind of a great starting point. But then after the first month, we go in and modify the report settings to be what's appropriate for that specific project. If the project Google exposure sucks, then we might do usually I settle on a 15x15 grid with 0.1 mile, or excuse me, with 0.5 mile spacing or half-mile spacing between points. That is my typical grid size for most campaigns. But in some cases, if the project is in really poor optimization status and doesn't have good exposure, we might go to a 15x15 grid with 0.1 mile spacing until the most of that starts to turn green, and then we'll expand it to half-mile spacing, which is our normal kind of grid area. And so we do something similar for Local Fury when it is needed. So that means we use the default reporting until we see it start to get green, or if it's not really green at all, then we will modify the report to give us more granular data so that we can identify the areas where we need to spend more place more attention, right? Devote more attention to specific areas, just so you guys are clear on that. So there's that one there. Again, I apologize that it's being done so quick. I would have done it a little bit differently, but I didn't have to do it. So here's another one. So just give that just a moment. You guys can see that. This one, at least the grid size was all the same size, but you guys can take a look at the dates there. May through June, right? So, I mean, that's pretty damn good results for that one. Of course, we can cherry pick, guys. You guys know that. There are going to be some projects that respond well and some that don't, and everything in between. So we cannot guarantee to you whether we're going to get results or not, but we have seen a consistent, steady uptick, or I should have said a steady uptick in consistency since we started applying the geostacks and everything else. So that's why we're kind of revealing this to you guys today, because we're seeing a lot more consistency with positive trends up from this process. Okay. So here's another one. Same thing. I think it's moving a little bit too fast. And again, I'm not crazy about it switching. If I don't mind it switching as long as there was a note added to the screenshot, but with how quickly this is cycling through, you would have never been able to read the note anyway. So, but you guys can see the kind of results here again, looking at starting at May, finishing out in July, right? Pretty big difference. All right, moving on. Here's another one. At least this one's the same grid size again. So this one started earlier in May through July. So we're looking at what, 3 months? Yeah, that's about 3 months. So in some cases, when the project responds well, we see significant results within a month. In other cases, it sometimes is month 2 or month 3 before we see significant jumps. It just is what it is. That's why I said every project is different. It's interesting to see how different projects respond to it. But what we're seeing is, again, the bulk of projects now are responding. Not all of them, guys, just to be clear. We're not saying this is a magic bullet, okay, because it's not, but we're seeing consistent results over and over again. Here's another one. I think we can skip on. Now, here's a couple of still shots or where it's a little bit slowed down. So I'll go through a couple of these real quick, but you'll see now in the next couple of slides, you're going to see kind of the exposure here as well. This one to this one. Again, you'll see this was about a week apart, the same project. And I guess that was probably it. It probably was it. I thought we had some more still shots than that, but that's about it. So, okay. So before I get into questions and stuff, guys, I do want to share just very quickly what the geostacks are. So hold on, let me get back to this for a minute. So we're still doing, this is still included, as I mentioned at the top of this, or the start of this webinar, 3 Google Business Profile audits to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. And again, that is as much for us as it is for you. In other words, because we want you to get results, if we send signals to a project that doesn't respond, you're going to obviously say, well, your shit doesn't work, and, you know, probably never come back. But so that's why we started incorporating the audits, because we found that a lot of times people will, you know, think that all you got to do is buy Local Fury and not have to do any optimization work and it's going to rank. No, I'm sorry. That's not, we never promised that. And we're not promising that now. So we do the audit specifically to provide you with very, very detailed analysis of what it takes to get a local project into a state where it should respond well to signals. It is just good practice, what we teach in those audits, full stop. And so we go through that so that we can hopefully at least provide the instruction that if you execute, the signals should produce a favorable result. But again, all we can do is lead the horse to water. We cannot cause the horse to drink, right? So all we can do with these audits is provide them to you. Whether you do them or not is entirely up to you. But just keep in mind, I know there's a lot of victims in our industry, and I say that because, you know, people that want to blame everybody else for them not getting results other than themselves. And I'm not saying this to any one of you guys here. I'm not preaching or anything else. I'm just saying, I know there's a lot of people that take shortcuts in our industry, and then they want to blame everybody else for them not getting results. Don't do that. If we give you a very thorough and detailed audit with step-by-step instructions, training, links to resources, etc., go through it. And here's the thing, once you learn, and that's another reason why we do 3 audits, is because after you've seen 3 of your projects or campaigns that you manage audited by us, you should have a pretty damn good understanding of what it takes to properly optimize a local entity, right? And then that way you can apply that, which you've learned, to all of your subsequent locations that you manage. You always have the option to purchase additional audits from us if you'd like. But the point is, really, at the end of 3 of them, you ought to have it understand the process well enough and the concepts within the audits to be able to apply those same methods to your other locations. Hopefully that's clear. We also do the local search grid rank tracking. We use Bright Local for that. That's included as well. And in the engagement signals, there's a little testimonial from somebody. And here's the offer, guys. And I'm just going to leave this up just briefly. We'll come back to this, but I do want to go back and show you guys the kind of the cloud stacks as well, and some of the cloud pages and the link wheels that we're doing over there. And then we can answer some questions. We got about another 30 minutes, so we should have plenty of time. So all the big updates included in the new Google Business Profiles added to Local Fury. So anything coming new, we don't even have we debated whether we were going to offer 2 different levels, meaning original Local Fury signals and now Local Fury Plus, right? Local Fury plus the geostacks. And we made the decision a week and a half or 2 weeks ago now to no, we're not even going to offer the previous kind of legacy type of campaigns, because these new ones, that's where we're seeing the consistent results is from adding the geostacks, et cetera. So we've changed our pricing structure and everything else, because now that is just mandatory. Like if you want into Local Fury, you're going to be under the new pricing structure if you've not already a subscriber, because we are going to include the geostacks, because that is what is producing consistent results. If that makes sense. So although there is literally no direct comparison to what we do at Local Fury, service is doing what part of what we are doing are charging more than what we're charging. There's a lot of other, not a lot, but there's a few other services out there now that are doing this. I'm not here to point out names or pick on anybody or anything else, but we specifically priced ours to be competitive. And also because remember, guys, we're looking more on a wholesale side of things than a retail side. Like honestly, to be just to be fully transparent with you guys, we don't want one-offs. Not saying that we won't take one-offs, but we specifically are looking for agencies and or consultants that have multiple clients. That is what we are going after. So we wanted to price it as like kind of white label or wholesale pricing, so that you guys can go out and sell this or include this into your retainer fees for your clients, if that makes sense. Meaning go and, if you charge $1,500 a month for a typical retainer and you don't have this included, charge $1,800 a month and include Local Fury signals and make 100% markup on it, or charge $2,000 a month and make, 200 or 300, 200% or 250% profit on it. You see what I'm saying? The point that I'm trying to make is we want to do it more on kind of a wholesale level, which is why we try to produce the pricing that is fair and reasonable, but also covers our additional costs and labor expenses, if that makes sense. All right, you can lock in you and your clients' Google business profiles in the Local Fury now, because there is a chance that as we continue to add more stuff to this later, and this is not a scarcity thing, guys, we will clearly notify everybody before any kind of pricing changes again, but it likely will happen as we continue to add more development to this, okay, and find out more things that work. But today you can also save $600 in onboarding fees, because our onboarding has gone up as well. But you can use our coupon code here, and that's going to actually bring it down to less than what it was prior to today, at least briefly, until Friday at midnight. Okay, so this is just a way to get some new people in to the to Local Fury, so you guys can experience what we've done. All right, so let me just go show you guys some of these stack pages here, and then we will answer some questions and we'll wrap it up for the day. So here, let me just go back to the presentation just for one moment so I can bring this up again. So that's going to be this first one here. This is an example. So this is the project that these 3 screenshots were taken from. So you can see again, this was janitorial service on the 26th of June. See where it was. Then on the 5th of July, and then on the 17th of July, which is today. Interesting to see a red dot. My guess is if I reran that, excuse me, it's interesting, but local search grid reports, I've seen it happen where sometimes I'll have a bad report like that has generated that day, and then I rerun the report on the same day without modifying anything, and it's way better. So I think there's just some anomalies and reporting errors. And if anybody's ever used Cora, the volatility report, you know that that happens with Google search algorithm, because you can do 10 successive searches for the same keyword back to back, and you'll get different results almost every time. You'll see things fluctuate and where their positioning is and things like that. So I think the same thing occurs with maps. Anyway, so just to show you guys that, here are some of the kind of, this is one cloud stack. So the way that we do this, and I can't give away the secret sauce entirely, but you guys are more than welcome to kind of, if you find it, pick through it and take a look at it. But as we talked about in the slides, you can see that we're adding geo-relevance, and we're also pushing some topical relevance in through these cloud pages. And what we're doing is one cloud page per week for 4 weeks. And on the 4th week, we close the wheel. So we create a link wheel. On the 4th week, so per month, you get 4 cloud pages. Okay. So each week you get a new cloud page. And on the 4th week, when the 4th cloud page is published, then we close the wheel. Like in other words, we link from cloud page 4 to cloud page 1. And that closes or completes the wheel, right? So it's a link wheel that we're using with cloud pages to where we can push in geo and topical relevance. Okay, you guys can see that here. And then we just link out to the, Google Business Assets, et cetera. And you can see we put a lot of, there's a lot of content in here. And then we also add maps and all that. And then you can see here were the driving directions that I was talking about, that we initially were just sending simulated signals or driving, we were driving signals to the Google Business Profiles or vice versa from the business to the customer's location of a service area business. We've done that too. We've tested with that, but now we're actually taking the share URLs and embedding the driving map essentially into here, and then running geosignals to these pages and through these pages to the money or to the Google Business Profiles and money sites. Okay, so that was number one. This is the next page in the link wheel. So you can see another janitorial service, New Orleans. Or New Orleans. I'm not sure. I know I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. But again, you can see this is a slightly different kind of setup. But you can see that this is another page on a different host. This is on Google Cloud Storage. This one is on DigitalOcean. You can see again, office cleaning, New Orleans. Very similar kind of structure. And then lastly, this is the fourth one in the wheel, New Orleans janitorial service. This one is on Linode or Linode. I'm not sure how to say that. And then once again, you can see very similar. So that's it. Okay, I think we've done fairly well at kind of describing. Adam, did I miss anything that you are aware of? Can we just get into questions or what?
Yeah, let's get into questions because these are good and definitely stuff we want to explain and talk about. So, and I apologize about the coupon code, you guys. If you check in the chat, it's now working. So yeah, that was a tech error on my part. So let me pull up the questions, and I just wanted to say to let me scroll back up here. I see two questions that people were asking that were not in the Q&A area, and I will get to those, or they're going to be included in these. So let me pop this up. First question from Mike saying, been using Local Fury for 1 year. Will the older accounts use the new cloud and other geo signals, et cetera? So I can answer that one. Mike, you can see at the bottom of this slide, Bradley's got existing customers contact support from inside your account. And we got a special deal for you for already being a customer. So just contact support and say, hey, I want to upgrade either all of mine or some of mine, or what's the exact deal? We'll fill you in that way. We thought that'd be the easiest way instead of trying to tell people different things. So if you're interested and you want to do this, which we highly recommend, just log into your account and say, hey, can you hook me up with the deal for this?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you. Next.
All right. The next one was, how narrow is the proximity now? Shrunk down from what would you say? And I think this came from Jay. This was during where you were showing or talking about, we're going to be working to, put in the correct terms as far as location modifiers, things like that. I think he was asking about the proximity. Jay, if I'm getting this wrong, give me a little clarification.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And Jay's a good dude. And by the way, Jay, I saw your comment about the audit, and you're welcome, man. Those audits are very thorough for sure. So it's going to vary, guys. The proximity varies depending on multiple factors. Okay. One of them being population density of the area. Number one. Number two is how many competing businesses are there that offer the same products and services. So just to kind of clarify or to illustrate this point, if it's a very rural area where the population density is sparse, right? So it's not very populated, and also there's not a lot of competing businesses, maps coverage can be much larger because there's not very many other competing businesses, and because there's not a lot. And generally, if the population is sparse, there's not many competing businesses either. Does that make sense? So it's just kind of it goes hand in glove or hand in hand, whatever you want to say. When there's an area that isn't very densely populated, it generally means, it's logical, right, that there wouldn't be very many competing businesses for the same products and services. So therefore, maps coverage can be much greater. When you get into more densely populated areas, there's naturally going to be more competing businesses as well. So therefore, Google will narrow the proximity considerably. But there are different factors involved there too. So what do I mean by that is, so just so you guys know, like, let's just say, okay, I live in Culpeper, Virginia. I'm just going to use this as an example. Okay, there's a kind of a neighboring town. It's a small town, but it's called Warrenton. Like W-A-R-R-E. It doesn't matter. Culpeper and Warrenton. Okay, but Warrenton is probably, I don't know, say 20 or 25 miles away from here, at least 20 miles. Okay. So if I rank a Google business profile in Culpeper and all of the on-page optimization and everything else I did is for tree service Culpeper. Okay. Let's just use that as an example. Now I might rank in Google Maps in Warrenton, 20 or 25 miles away for somebody searching for tree service Culpeper. I might rank in the 3-pack in Warrenton for tree service Culpeper because I'm searching for a tree service contractor in Culpeper, and that particular Google business profile is optimized for Culpeper. But just doing a general tree service search query in Warrenton or tree service near me, Google is not going to show Culpeper Google business profile because it's nowhere near Warrenton. And there are plenty of other tree service contractors that are in or nearby Warrenton that would trump or overtake, would be delivered or served up first before Google's going to serve a Google business profile from 20 or 20 that is physically located 20 or 25 miles away. Does that clear? So that's why I'm saying, like, when it comes to optimizing for proximity, you want to try to push the general keywords, and in keywords plus near me, Google does that automatically. There are a couple things that we can do to influence that, but not like it used to be. Okay. So we want to try to optimize for the general search queries and the search queries plus near me or variants of near me first. Okay. And then as far as, like I said, you can rank a map far away when searching for service plus or keyword plus city. If it's well optimized, you might rank in that specific location, that whatever, neighboring town when doing a search plus geo modifier for that city, if that makes sense. So there are varying degrees as to how much proximity has shrunk depending on those factors that I just described. But think about logically, guys, why this is. Why the hell, if a homeowner or property owner in Warrenton, Virginia, does a search for tree service or tree service near me or one of the variants thereof, why would Google ever show a Google business profile for a tree service contractor that's 20 or 25 miles away? I don't care how well optimized it is. If there's 15 tree contractors that are in or nearby, like adjacent to Warrenton, Google is going to show those first because they're in closer proximity to the searcher, physical proximity to the searcher. So Google is going to show that. So even if you can, and you can still brute force maps into areas where they have no business being. But it's very fleeting. It's a temporary thing, or it requires an enormous amount of resources to maintain, and it's not worth it. It really isn't, because at every opportunity, Google's going to try to push that business that has no business being there, right, out of the maps to show Google business profiles that are physically located in close proximity to the searcher, if that's clear.
Cool. All right, going to cruise through a couple. We're getting some more questions, so we'll keep moving. JW is asking, I already have about 10 local Fury campaigns. Do I need to upgrade? Yeah, that's what we're talking about, JW, on the existing customers. Log into your account, contact support, and we got something special for you being a existing customer. Let me see. And then Kendrick, is the onboarding a one-time thing, or is it per client you bring in? It is one time.
One time.
Yeah. One time. Yep. So this covers the initial audits, getting that stuff taken care of. It is not per client. You can have as many GBPs as you want, and you're just paying per GBP. You're not going to have to pay some sort of onboarding fee again and again.
Yeah. The only thing is, remember, you get 3 audits included with the onboarding fee. So you can bring on as many clients as you want. There's no additional onboarding fee. If you want additional audits, though, beyond the 3 that are included, then you may purchase those, but that's entirely up to you, which again is why we say we're giving you 3 included with the onboarding fees so that you will understand what to do. You shouldn't need to order any additional audits after that because you should know what to do. But if you need to, you have that option.
Yeah. Bradley, real quick, Jada was also asking, is Local Fury needed if I already have a semantic SEO subscription for the same GBP or website?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Different. That's not, that is an add-on service. We might have some packages eventually that will include all of those wrapped up into one, but it's different businesses, different companies altogether. So no, it's not included.
Yeah. All right. Nigel's got 2 questions here. Hey, does this work if you're not in the US, like the UK, for example? And the answer is yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some limitations on what reporting we're able to do because some of the other countries don't give us, like, they're just not in Bright Local. So if you happen to submit a project for a location that Bright Local does not support, we're going to tell you, hey, we can still send signals, but we can't produce the report.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to, just have your own rank tracking system. So, okay, follow-up question from Nigel, and somebody else had asked this too in chat. Are service area businesses getting positive results, and are we sending signals to them?
Yes. Service area businesses, though, guys, I know 100% for a fact, if you can publish the street address for service area businesses, you're going to get a ranking boost from that alone. No kidding. So service area businesses where the street address is visible, they respond better, just to be clear. Like 100% transparent with you guys on this. If it's a hidden street address for service area businesses, it does not respond as well to the signals. It will still respond, but not as quickly as it does when you have a published street address, just to be clear. And guys, like I said, I've been doing some testing with this over the past few weeks. Keep in mind, if you have any projects that are service area businesses with hidden street addresses, you may want to suggest to your clients to publish the street address, but always be very clear and transparent with them up front to let them know that there's a chance it's going to trigger re-verification when you go to publish the address, or a slight chance it could be suspended. However, if it is a true, real business, then they shouldn't have any problem being able to re-verify or reinstate if it gets suspended. But you have to disclaim that up front and make them aware of it, and make sure that they agree to take the small chance that it might cause re-verification if you publish the street address. But I can tell you, again, if you are able to, I would encourage your clients to try to publish the street address. I don't care if it's against Google's terms of service or not. It is a significant ranking boost right now. And those ones, typically, if we can publish the street address and then send signals to it, or with this the street address published, it will respond really well.
Cool. All right, a quick one. John, our guy, was asking about how long is the coupon good for? Like it says on screen, you can save $600 until Friday at midnight, this Friday. All right. So you got this week to take advantage of that. You can always come back if you needed a month or 2 months from now, you can always come, but the coupon for onboarding fee savings is only good for this week. Following up, Kendrick had a follow-on. Which I think is good for clarification. He said the 3 audits with the onboarding fee, are those for 3 different businesses, or the same one 3 times as it's tweaked along the way?
Your call.
Yeah.
You can do it either way. We had to clarify that, because when we first launched, there was a couple people that would submit one audit and then they would ask it to be re-audited multiple times, and we had to cut that shit off real quick. No, you get 1 audit per location, or you can do 3 audits on 1 location. I don't care. It's up to you to make the decision on how you want to spend your audits. Just understand that if you've used your 3 audits and then you want us to go back and review a project that we've already audited, you either need to use an existing audit credit if you have any available, or purchase another one, because re-auditing uses just about as much time as it does to initially audit, if that makes sense.
All right, let's, Lori's got kind of a multi-part here, but it says, how many locations are included for our clients' GBP? Do you do what is needed each month for our clients' GBP to continue to rank? So, Lori, I think what you might be asking there, how many locations are included? Once you sign up for Local Fury services, you can have as many clients or GBPs as you want in there. The onboarding fee is a one-time fee that just covers the audits, the onboarding. After that, the monthly fee is per GBP. So you could have 100, you could have 10, it doesn't matter. It's just up to you how you want to do that. And then, yeah, we're continually doing this every single month that you are engaging the service.
Yeah, I see the one from
go ahead.
Tony. Is there a way to find stats for Google Business Profile posts? I don't, other than logging into the Google Business Profile dashboard. I don't think so. I'm not aware of those. Yeah, as far as I know, the only stats that you get are from within the dashboard. It'll show you like how many views. Sometimes it'll show you how many clicks too, but I don't know of any kind of external reporting app that does that. Maybe I just haven't paid attention to it if it has.
Yeah. Follow up from Lori. Does this also work for a brand new GBP, or if a client does not even have one yet? Go for it, Bradley.
Well, okay. Number one, this is not a service that we would accept if it doesn't have a Google Business Profile, number one. So that's the bare minimum requirement, is that there's a published and verified Google Business Profile. And actually, it really doesn't even have to be verified. It just has to be published. It's better if it's verified because you can optimize it. But even as long as it's published, we can send signals to it. if that makes sense. However, your question was a brand new GBP. First of all, so yes, you have to have a GBP. Okay. But a brand new one, can you send signals to it? Yes. But we do it in a different way, which is why, like I said, we go through the audit process, because that is how we determine what the current status of a project is, so that we know how to engineer the signals to be appropriate for that specific project or that location, if that makes sense. Because again, if it's a brand new Google Business Profile, so a new business, or maybe it's an existing business, but a new location, either way, let's just say it's a new business. Okay. We're not going to go in and start hitting it with keyword search and clicks and you know, pushing on keywords, because there's no authority built to the brand yet. So we're going to go in and spend the first month at least kind of building signals up, branded search queries, and engaging with the profile to show Google, hey, this company is likely doing offline marketing, which is why it's getting these types of branded search queries, branded search and clicks, and maps search and clicks, because they're probably doing some offline marketing, direct mail, newspaper, ads, radio spots, local cable newspaper or television spots, etc. Things like that, which think about that, guys. When you do offline marketing, what do people do when they receive a print advertisement or something like that? They go to Google and search for the company name, and then they click through. So that is a search and click signal on a branded search query. So we try to mimic real natural signals, and that therefore, so will it work on new businesses? Yes, but we modify the campaign structure to be appropriate for that type of a business.
All right, we're going to cruise through as much of these as we can. Bradley's got a call at the top of the hour, so we may not get to all of them. If not, we will potentially cover these on Hump Day Hangouts on Wednesday. But Anthony is asking, how many keywords do you work with on Local Fury? For example, if we have a plastic surgeon who has 20 different services, but how do we do it?
That's a good question. I'd have to get with the team when you have that many questions. I know we always start with brand, unless the project is significant, like the local entity is very well established, we always start with brand anyway. And that's our process, standard operating procedure. But depending on the existing status of the project or campaign, like I said, if it's in a state where we can start pushing on keywords sooner than later, we do. But as far as I know, like I said, I would have to get with my team to specifically figure out how to give you an accurate answer on this. But from what I understand, we would be pushing on the keywords that are already receiving the most exposure via Google Business Insights. And we start pushing on those. And then what happens is we pay attention to those kind of queries, and we start to see when you push on keywords that it's already getting impressions and engagement on, you start to see more impressions for that same search query. And then you'll start seeing related search queries that are variants of that seed term that will start to be pulling in as new impressions. You'll start seeing that come in. So if you have particular search queries or keywords that you want to optimize for, we'll probably pull data from this Google Business Insights first. And also it does make sense, guys, and I don't know if we have this worked into our process just yet or not, but Search Console access, it would be really helpful for us to have that too, because then we're not just looking at maps keywords, but also organic search keywords. And then we can start to manipulate those too. But so yeah, it's going to be a progression. But again, if you want a more kind of thorough or specific answer to that question, just contact support and we'll get you a better answer.
All right. Follow up from Anthony. Is the process you use for Local Fury taught in the mastermind?
Some of it, yeah, but not all of it.
Yeah, I was like, this is not just a method. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here. When we weren't joking about hardware development, software development. This isn't, just a off the shelf solution.
Yeah, and by the way, I brought this up earlier, but we've been answering questions. This is the G site, or a G site, not for the project we looked at earlier, but this is one of the G sites as part of the Geo stack. So we did the cloud pages, and then you can see this is the G site, or a G site from a Geo stack. You can see that what we're doing here with this as well. So this is also included. This is all kind of part of the process that we're doing now. And you can see very, very thorough G site as well. Okay, next.
Next question, Paul. Hey, Paul. He's asking, are the audits on the GBP or the business website self-hosted?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Basically just saying the audits are done on the GBP, not on the if they have their own website.
Actually, no, it's done. It's a 4-part audit.
Yeah.
The first one is entity analysis, so local entity analysis. The second part is on page for the self-hosted website. The third part is on page for the Google Business Profile. And the fourth part is off page, meaning backlinks. So it's a 4-part and it covers all, because remember guys, if you have a self-hosted site associated with the Google Business Profile, it is part of the entity. So we can't just audit the Google Business Profile. We have to audit the website. Now, if it's a Google Business Profile that does not have a self-hosted website, then we can do just the Google Business Profile.
Cool. All right. So that was Paul's anonymous. I don't know if we want to do this. Somebody's asking, what's the link to the semantic SEO offer?
No, we're not doing that.
All right.
We're not doing that
Not
yet.
yet. Harry.
That's by invitation only, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, for the time being. So Harry's asking, who or what kind of situation is the best candidate for Local Fury? I'm fishing for which prospects LF would be a great fit for, or to put it another way, if you have this problem, then I think you should implement Local Fury campaign for this. Good question.
Well, as I said, there's no question in my mind that storefront businesses respond better to these kind of signals than service area businesses. However, we can still get results for service area businesses too, as I already mentioned. If you're able to publish a street address, that helps. That'll help with or without us, but with signals included, you'll get even a better push. So there's a number of things that Local Fury can do that can also help to solve some entity ambiguation issues because of the types of brand search and engagement signals that we send for the brand. If you have a business that has a very common name or is a generic search query for the business name, which we see a lot of in SEO, which is stupid, but a lot of, again, I'm not here to pick on anybody. And over the years ago, I did it too, city tree service, right? Whatever, Culpeper tree service, right? That's not a unique kind of, it's hard to be recognized as an entity when the brand name is a generic search query also, if that makes sense. But these types of signals can establish or help Google to recognize even a search query as a brand. And we've seen that. We've actually seen some recovery from sites that have had entity ambiguation or were being pigeon or possum filtered. Not sure which one, because there was some overlap there. But we've actually seen some results where it's helped to recover, sometimes quicker than others. But there's a number of things that the kind of sending signals can do to help kind of establish the local entity or force Google to recognize it as an entity to begin with. So those are some of the use cases. Again, storefront businesses typically respond best. There's no question. But also using the kind of signals to overcome potential ambiguation issues, which we see a lot of now is, again, especially for older SEO projects or campaigns that were optimized for generic search queries as opposed for a brand. Google is rewarding brands now, guys. We're in the semantic web. It makes sense. So I don't know if that was a good enough answer for you, Harry, but I'm almost out of time. So.
All right, one more. So Anthony was asking, before we go into this, I wanted to say there's a couple questions here that go into some real details, trying to make sure everybody gets at least their, initial surface high level questions answered. If you want to, by all means, please show up to Hump Day Hangout. Jay, right. I see your question too. We'll get back to you. Just want to, and if you have really specific questions, by all means, hit us up, get in touch with us after the webinar and say, hey, here's what the deal is, contact support through Local Fury and say, hey, here's my client, can we make this work? We're happy to talk to you about your specific details and make sure it's a good fit before doing that. But all right, one of the last questions here, he says, so I get that this all helps with mapped rankings. I don't see anything presented on organic local rankings. Does it help with that at all?
Yes, it does, because well, especially now, Local Fury is supposed to be a maps signal service, but now that we've started incorporating the geostacks, which is, pushes both topical and geographic relevance, and those are off-page components, that should have an effect on organic as well. Initially, everything was supposed to be just entirely maps. We mixed about like 80-20, like I said, about 20% organic signals in, but it was mostly all maps. But now, because of what we're doing with the geostacks, there is more overlap or more of instead of being 80-20, it's more maybe 60-40, if that makes sense. And that's a statistic that I just pulled out of the air, just so you guys know. I'd have to give it to developers to figure out kind of like what the actual balance is on that. But the geo stacks and the signals that we're sending through there has an influence on maps, but also more of an influence on organic than what we were doing previously. So it is a combination of both. And by the way, guys, just to be clear, these geostacks, those also become perfect link building targets. Remember, because they're geostacks, Google Sites and or cloud pages, you can spam away to those if you wanted to. I still don't recommend it, but you can. But you can also push topically relevant links to the geostacks and or G site. Remember, the G site is part of the geostacks. It's the G site plus cloud pages, etc. So you can push topical relevance into those. Semantic links is a good source for that, or geographic links into those as well to also kind of augment some of the campaigns that we were looking at here. Had it like for the janitorial services one, I did build one topic link and one geographic link to that stack that I just showed with you guys. And we saw kind of the movement there. We're seeing movement with just the geostacks alone, but if you can push topical and or geographic or a combination of both into the stack, you're going to get better results.
Nice. Well, let's wrap this up, Bradley. So you have literally 1 minute before your next call. And call it a day here. If anybody wants, has additional questions, has anything, make sure come show up to Hump Day Hangout, semanticmastery.com/HDHO. Come join us Wednesdays, 4 p.m. and we'll be happy to answer it. In the meantime, you can get started with this, save $600 on the onboarding until this Friday at midnight. Just go to localfury.com and use 2023 Local Fury.
Sweet. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Like I said, or like Adam just said, if you guys have any follow-up questions that we did not answer, join us for Hump Day Hangouts on Wednesday and we'll be happy to answer them over there. Appreciate you guys, and we'll hopefully see you inside Local Fury. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.